Hey, boys and girls. Long time no see. What's it been like? 5, 6 months? You could tell I've done up the place a little. I've got those TikToker LED lights so people know I don't get laid. I got a new co-host and stuff. If you're new here or you've just forgotten my ugly mug, I'm your host, Psychedelic Psychic Sir Jiggler II, here to talk to you today about a hit new series weeks after its peak relevancy, anime of the year 2024, in my opinion, Dandadan. For a brief recap of sorts, after premiering in October, prime time for the spooky season, the Dandadan anime quickly rose to widespread popularity, which only compounded as the season continued, all the way up until the most blue-balling cliffhanger of the century. I still can't believe they did that. Now, you're either watching this video because you already know all this, or you heard about the series, but you wanted to hear a bit more about it before checking it out, or you're my mom and you just saw I uploaded a new video. Hi, Mom. But whatever reason you might be here, I'm gonna steal the next 15 minutes and 35 seconds of your time to tell you what makes Dandadan such a masterpiece of an anime, an adaptation, and a story. And there's no better way to get to the heart of this story than to start with the brain that birthed it all, the mangaka Yukinobu Tatsu himself. Tatsu is actually not a complete newcomer to the manga space, having been a published author since all the way back in 2009. Aside from his 2019 one-shot Yamada Kiki Ippatsu, trying to find English translations of his early work is like trying to find the fucking One Piece. You can find Japanese scans online, but even now this shit is like comically underground. But after working on his own series, he would later become an apprentice under mangaka Tatsuki Fujimoto, working on this little unknown series called Chainsaw Man. You've probably never heard of it. After this, he would also assist fellow Fujimoto underling Yuji Kaku on his series Hell's Paradise, published on Shueisha's digital platform Jump Plus. And after all this is when Tatsu finally decided to start a new serialization, and thus Dandadan was born. The manga slowly picked up a cult following due to the phenomenal art, the interesting characters, the bizarre antics, the iconic panels, yada yada yada. This is around the time I got into it. I think it was around like chapter 24 or 25. Not to be all like a, I liked it before it was cool hipster sort of thing. That's just anecdotal. I have the first 5 volumes because that was all that was out when I got them. But I think they're up to like, what, 16 now? But Jiggler, you cry into your LED screen. What makes the series so special? Why is it so popular? What is it about? What's the next part of the script if you just be a little bit more patient? My god. Dandadan mainly follows the story of 2 troublesome teens. More specifically, Momo Ayase, a kind but angsty girl with a sexy psychic grandma, and a special affinity towards Japanese Clint Eastwood equivalent, Ken Takakura.
Speaks fucking English.
Assistant Inspector Matsumoto Masahiro, Criminal Investigation Section, Osaka Prefecture Police. And I do speak fucking English.
And her encounter with a boy who has an almost definitely unhealthy obsession with all things paranormal and supernatural, who she decides to call a cult boy. She's very creative. After getting in a fight, they come to bet each other on their beliefs. Momo, who believes in ghosts and not aliens, goes to an old abandoned hospital said to be frequented by extraterrestrial visitors. And a cult boy who believes in aliens and not ghosts goes to that tunnel from that one Mob Psycho episode. The bet being whoever chickens out first is admitting they believe in such phenomena, at least enough that they're scared of it. Even though you couldn't pay me enough to go to either of these locations, let alone by myself. And oh my god, who could see it coming? They're both real. Ghosts and aliens were both real the whole time. The History Channel was right all along. A cult boy runs into the Turbo Granny, a real Japanese urban legend that's been referenced in a lot of Japanese media, including the aforementioned Mob Psycho 100, the Shin Megami Tensei series, and this fucking spectacular looking low-budget Japanese horror movie called The Crone that I am most definitely going to watch. And this Turbo Granny, well, let's just say she likes them young. And Momo is unfortunately in no better of a scenario as she's been abducted by the evil, ugly space rapists, who are more obsessed with bananas than the minions. Was that a funny joke? Was that funny? And well, to make a long story short, A turbo granny possessed occult boy teleports through a cell phone and bites the robo-dicks off of all the Diddy aliens, but the last one pins him to a wall with an Ultraman pose, leaving him incapable of moving. But before the creep gets his freak off, Momo awakens her latent psychic ability, as you do, and uses it in the best way she knows how, kicking the motherfucker in the head, sending him out of his own ship and crashing the whole thing to the ground. But not all is well, as Occult Boy is still hopped up on Turbo Granny juice, forcing Momo to perform an on-the-spot exorcism, driving out the evil spirit, but not before she takes Occult Boy's cock and balls hostage, leaving him with a part of her curse. And now, with new trauma, a new outlook on life, and -1 schlong, the two set off as a team to go recover Occult Boy's junk from the Turbo Granny. And after all this time, Momo still hasn't asked this poor kid his name yet, which leads to the real penultimate twist of the chapter.
そういえば名前なんだっけ？うち名前覚えるの苦手でさ。
おお、高倉健です。
And I do speak fucking English.
That's right, this wimpy, meek, noodly nerd. No, the character, not me, just so happens to have the exact same name as Momo's niche celebrity hypercrush, causing her to basically fall in love on the spot, whether or not she realizes it now or anytime soon. And I think that final twist of the chapter is what really defines the Dandadan story going forward. The freaky-ass aliens and terrifying ghosts are just mediums through which we're able to explore the relationship of these two dorky-ass kids and how they grow both as individuals and as people who have no idea how to express their budding feelings towards one another. And don't get me wrong, the story would never be the same without the hype transformations and the incredibly memorable supernatural beings that often draw from real folklore and mythology. But I think that goes to show the strength of the writing and just the two main characters alone, that their relationship is enough to overshadow such drastic stakes like spiritual rituals and alien invasions and shit. It's fucking spectacular. And so now we fast forward a few years later, and to nobody's surprise, a Dandadan anime is officially announced. Who would be so brave, so daring to adapt the most bizarre manga of the 2020s? Why, it was none other than Science Saru, a studio with quite a stacked history. Starting back with Ping Pong the Animation in 2014, their most famous work before Dandadan is almost certainly the Netflix original series Devilman Crybaby, an adaptation of the Go Nagai classic Devilman, which adapted the older story into a modern setting. Coupled with immaculate visuals and a hell of a soundtrack, the composer of which also did Chainsaw Man, and hey, go figure, Dandadan, cemented the series in the Anime Hall of Fame. They've done other series like Keep Your Hands Off Eizouken and that 2023 Scott Pilgrim anime, which keep their same visual quality. And they're also adapting the manga Sanda, a story about a boy who Shazams into a buff sexy Santa, written by the Beastars author who's the daughter of the Baki author. Science Saru is a very good studio. And such was evident as soon as the first episode released, as even though like half the season got leaked months prior, it still exploded as soon as it came onto the scene. The show came out firing on all cylinders. The animation, the opening, the voice acting, the lighting and colors, the opening, the soundtrack, the opening. Now let's talk about the opening. Can we talk about the opening, please? I'm dying to talk about the opening. The opening song for Dandadan is Otonoke by Creepy Nuts, a Japanese music duo who are far from inexperienced when it comes to dropping hit banger anime openings, as they did both the Call of the Night opening and the iconic Mashal Season 2 opening. And I gotta say, this one eclipses both easily. This has gotta be in like the top anime openings of all time, in my opinion. Especially compared to the fucking visuals and the opening animation, it's just a no-brainer. Even months later, I still have that shit stuck in my head. But as much as it didn't take the world by storm as the opening did, I'd be remiss not to mention the ending song, as it's done by one of my favorite Japanese bands, Zutto Mayonaka de Ino ni, or Zutomayo if you're a normal person. They also did one of the like 100 Chainsaw Man ending songs. They just go listen to them if you haven't. They'll be net positive on your life. The ending visuals follow basically the mascot of Dandadan, this quirky little lucky cat character, and most notably adapts some of the manga volume extras which follow the cat's escapades, which I just think is very cool. And with any more possible side quests out of the way, let's talk about the damn anime, shall we? The season was directed by one Mr. Fuga Yamashiro, and believe it or not, it was actually his directorial debut, which means this guy is truly a god amongst men, or it means he's peaked early and it's only downhill from here. Only time will tell, I suppose. But for real, it's crazy for someone's directorial debut to be such a fucking runaway hit like Dandadan. Like, nothing but respect. And as I mentioned earlier, the series is composed by Ushio Kensuke, an industry veteran with a plethora of series under his belt. And let me tell you, he runs wild on the composition in this series. Okaru's theme, or at least what I think is supposed to be his theme, is a techno remix of the classical orchestral piece William Tell Overture called William Hell Overture, and somehow it like actually goes hard and is one of the most fitting anime main character themes since, like, I don't know, Ichigo's from Bleach. And with audio still in the discussion, let's talk about the series sound director Eriko Kimura, as she's able to bring this insane world of surreal supernatural beings to life by using just some incredible soundscapes.
とりあえず脱出しない。
And those are just a few of my favorites. Seriously, I'm blown away by how cinematic the audio in this entire series is. And now why don't we talk about the casting for the characters, as I think that's another reason why this show has done so well. Momo is voiced by Shion Wakayama, who, as far as I'm aware, I was completely unfamiliar with prior to this show. But she quickly won me over. I think she was perfect casting for Momo. She brings a perfect amount of angst and still balances it nice with her fucking goofy ass side. On the other hand, Okarun is voiced by Natsuki Hanae, who has had quite the cavalcade of iconic roles. From Tanjiro in Demon Slayer, 9S in Nier Automata, and I think most hilariously Ken Kaneki from Tokyo Ghoul. Aside from the names, I don't think I have to explain why I find that so funny. And this guy is also, I think, perfect for Okarun, because when he's normal, he's goofy, he's dorky, and he's such a fucking dweeb, it's perfect. And then when he fucking Danny Phantom goes ghost, he just is so funny, it's incredible. And I think we can owe the visual quality of this show partially to its art director, Junichi Higuchi, an absolute titan in the industry who's been art directing since all the way back on Cowboy Bebop. And that's not even mentioning all the incredible animators, both experienced veterans and the newcomers, that have been able to bring such larger-than-life characters with such bombastic abilities to life and just deliver on all fronts and then some. But of course, the story would really be nothing without its plot. No, I'm talking about the story. While I love the Dandadan manga, I would honestly put it in my top 5 at this point. I'd almost argue the anime surpasses it in some ways. And I'm aware that might be a controversial take, but I seriously mean it. I had my expectations set very high going into watching this, and they were surpassed and then some. I've genuinely rewatched the show 3 times already, and that's not even counting all the YouTube reactions I've watched, because I like to vicariously re-experience things freshly through the eyes of strangers on the internet. But that is to say, I think the show just somehow elevates the already incredible plot of the manga to an even higher level. It's already an easy story to get invested into because it just keeps going. Events lead into the next event, lead into the next event. And no matter how mundane or throwaway something might seem, it always ends up coming back somehow. And I think each episode capitalizes on something the manga also does incredibly well, especially for a weekly serialization. And that's with the cliffhangers at the end of each episode. They always get you to come back, all the way up to the season finale, which does sort of feel like there was supposed to be more of the season, but it just got cut in half, which actually might have been a thing that happened and might have had something to do with the whole entire season being leaked earlier in the year thing that I mentioned earlier. But I could just be spreading misinformation. I do not know if that's real. But regardless, we'll just have to wait for the continuation of this masterpiece of an adaptation in July of this year, and you bet your sweet bippy I'll be counting down the days till that. I think that's all I could really talk about with it getting into spoilers for the season, and I really don't want to do that because I think it's best experienced with as little information as possible, and I've already given you a fat load of it, so take it or leave it, you greedy bastard. So yeah, I'm gonna quit yapping now. I appreciate you staying all the way to the end, and if you haven't checked out Dandadan, I hope this may have inspired you to give it a try. And I know I haven't uploaded in half a year, but worry not, I'm actually uploading another video Tuesday. It's a short little One Piece discussion thing, but if that's not your speed, worry not, because I've got a bunch of other stuff in the works, ranging from goofy, wacky, awesome, fun time to more fledged out, researched video essay type thingies. So whether you're returning to the channel or you're brand new, I hope you stick around and see what my crazy ass cooks up next. This has been Jiggler, and you have been wonderful. Thank you, and good night.
印はるか世界で戦えますかビジネスマンビジネスマンジャパニーズ最強のビタミンドリンクビゲインが行く
Dude, where's my balls? Like the movie Dude, Where's My Car?